I'm Jordan Weisinger, and welcome back to another episode of All Access with the Profs. Last week we talked about the NJAC playoff run for Rowan sports, but this week it is all about the NCAA D3 tournament run for the Profs. Let's get into it. Rowan had a 10-game winning streak heading into the NCAA tournament. They defeated Stockton in the NJAC semifinal and TCNJ in the championship game. The Profs had a tough first game against Ursinus in the opening round. A win would put them in a second-round matchup against Tufts. Will the Profs be able to extend their season and their stay in the tournament? Here is Sam Prince for more.
The Rowan field hockey team beat Ursinus 2-1 in the first round of the 2024 D3 field hockey tournament. But the momentum was not strong enough as they fell to Tufts 3-1 on Sunday. In the win against Ursinus, it was Ali Palumbo that scored the first goal of the game at 16 minutes and 52 seconds to make it 1-0. Maria Branyard got the equalizer for Ursinus at 30 minutes. Jenna Gray knocked in the Profs' second goal of the day to put them ahead 2-1. The Profs started to dance after the victory as they got a spot in the second round of the NCAA tournament, but as they would lose to Tufts 3-1. In the loss, Ali Palumbo scored. The lone goal for the Profs at 3:25 was assisted by Paige Gray. Tufts would turn the music off to stop the dancing for the Profs as they scored 3 straight goals to win the game. This is now back-to-back years where Rowan got eliminated by Tufts in the D3 NCAA field hockey tournament. The Rowan field hockey team will finish the season 15-8 and NJAC champions once again, making 4 straight years the Profs are NJAC champions. This is Sam Prince with All Access with the Profs. Back to you guys in the studio.
We last left the women's soccer team with their loss to Montclair State in the NJAC semifinal. Fortunately, the women were awarded with an at-large bid for their successful regular season. Once again, a Rowan team will be taking on a Tufts team in the D3 tournament. Can the women's soccer team flip the script and avenge the Rowan field hockey team? Skylar Sweeney is outside the Rowan Soccer and Lacrosse Complex with more intel on the match.
The women's soccer team saw their NCAA tournament run end in the first round after a 1-0 loss against Tufts University on Saturday in Geneva, New York. Despite strong defensive efforts and a solid performance from goalkeeper Calista Burke, they were unable to generate offense and couldn't recover after Tufts' early second-half goal. The Profs were under heavy pressure from the start as Tufts controlled much of the play. Rowan's defense held firm in the first half, blocking several shots and limiting the Jumbos' opportunities. But the Profs managed only 1 shot on goal in the entire game, a routine save for Tufts goalkeeper Gigi Edwards. Burke, who recorded 5 saves of the day, was kept busy, especially in the second half, as Tufts launched 15 shots, 7 of which were on target. The game turned in the second half when Tufts' Elsie Ayers scored just 1:59 into the period. After a series of quick passes and a dazzling run through the defense, Ayers found space to find a shot past Burke and give the Jumbos the only goal of the match. Despite some late pressures from Rowan, including a few attempts to break down Tufts' defense, the Profs could not find the equalizer. They ended the game with only 2 total shots, both off target in the second half, and were unable to respond to Tufts' solid defensive organization. Rowan's season has now came to a close after making its 16th NCAA tournament appearance. And while they fought hard, they were ultimately outmatched by a talented Tufts squad. The Profs will look to regroup for the future as they continue to build on their strong performance history they've had this season. I'm Skylar Sweeney with All Access with the Profs. Now let's send it back to you all in the studio.
Oy vey, Tufts really had Rowan's number so far in 2 sports. But now that brings us to the men's team. Rowan men's soccer did not have as successful as a regular season compared to the women's team, but they did win the NJAC tournament to gain an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. Rowan had an 8-match winning streak heading into their game against the Brewers of Vassar College. Let's see if the men's team can advance to face host College Middlebury in Middlebury, Vermont. Caden Murphy is also outside the Rowan Soccer and Lacrosse Complex for some more insight on the match.
This past Saturday, the Rowan men's soccer team traveled to Middlebury for the first round of the NCAA championship. Riding the momentum of an 8-game win streak, they looked to handle business against Vassar College. Rowan got off to a rocky start to kick off NCAA play, allowing a goal to Vassar's Arden Tobolski within the first 3 minutes of the game. Throughout the rest of the match, the Profs ruled the offensive scene on shots, with a total of 18 compared to Vassar's 13. However, every one of those shots failed to reach the back of the net for Rowan, while Tobolski added to his first goal twice more late, giving him a natural hat trick. The Brewers would hold on to their lead with the help of goalkeeper Jacob Raffin, who finished the game with 10 total saves. As the final whistle blew, the Profs suffered a 3-0 loss, sadly bringing an end to the incredible year that they've had. With their season sadly coming to a close, the NJAC champion Rowan men's soccer team has plenty to be proud of. Despite the loss of the seniors from this year, the Profs will look to come back hungrier than ever next season. I'm Caden Murphy with All Access with the Profs. Back to you, Jordan.
The NYU Tip-Off Classic did not go as planned for Rowan, dropping the first two games of the year. They were outscored by 25 in the two losses combined. The Profs flocked back to Glassboro for their home opener against Eastern last Wednesday, looking for their first win of the season. Stephen Wilczynski has more on the home opener from the SB Gymnasium.
The Rowan men's basketball team celebrated Military Appreciation Night as they took home their first win of the season on Wednesday. After starting off the season 0-2 on the road, the Profs faced off against the Eastern University Eagles in their home opener. Rowan breezed past Eastern 79-61. Eastern kept the score close in the first half as Rowan led 32-28. However, the Profs proved too much to handle, outscoring Eastern by 14 points in the second half. The Profs looked solid on defense and offense all night. At the center of it all was senior guard Khalif Mears and senior forward Danny Fleming leading the Profs on both ends. Mears, who was second in the nation in steals last season, scored 23 points and had 7 steals. Fleming scored 15 points and had 4 blocks. However, it was a full team effort as Rowan played everyone rostered for the contest. The Profs' dominant win on Wednesday proves that they were better than their record shows. The Profs look to continue their win streak as their next 5 games are conference matchups. From SB Gym, I'm Stephen Wilczynski with All Access with the Profs. Back to you, Jordan.
Winter sports is underway with basketball as the next headlining sport. The men's team already had their season get underway, and next up is the women's team. The women started their season with 2 games on the road for the Messiah Tip-Off Tournament last Friday and Saturday. Can the women's team have a better start to the season than the men's team? Here is Keegan Thompson with more information on the result of the games.
The women's basketball team played 2 games this week to start off the season as part of the Messiah Tip-Off Tournament. On Friday, November 15th, they played against Salisbury, and on Saturday, November 16th, they squared off against Messiah. On neutral ground at Messiah University, the women's basketball team took down Salisbury 64-40. Leading scorer between both teams was Kate Hurley, who shot 10 for 19 from the floor and scored 22 points. Haley Selmer netted 12 points herself, and Christina Johnson earned 10 for the Profs in their victory. On Saturday, against home team Messiah, the Profs fell 44-60. Hurley once again had an amazing start to the game and continued all the way through, shooting 19 points, with Selmer netting 11. The Profs struggled on the floor, shooting only 15 for 50, and they lost 24 points to turnovers. The Profs bench looked very promising, however, scoring 19 points between all players. 1-for-1 on the season, the Profs look for a second victory on Friday the 22nd at Brooklyn College, who currently stand 1-2 on the year. From Esbjornson Hall, I'm Keegan Thompson with All Access with the Profs. Back to you in the studio. Take it away, Jordan.
Rowan women's volleyball season came to an end last Thursday in the NJAC semifinal against William Patterson. They were swept 3-0. Although the ending was not the goal, the Profs still had a very successful season. Last year, the team went 9-21 and lost in the NJAC quarterfinal. In what was a massive turnaround this year, the team has got to be proud of their efforts. Logan Stewart has more on their loss to Willie P.
The Rowan women's volleyball team lost in the semifinal round of the NJAC tournament on Thursday as they got swept by William Patterson on the road. The Profs had a successful season with several players earning recognition on the NJAC Volleyball All-Conference team. Jenna Call received second-team honors while Vanessa Hutchinson, Brooke Adams, and Maya Ivacini were named honorable mentions. Entering the NJAC tournament as the number 5 seed, the Profs secured a hard-fought victory against number 4 Keene in the opening round, winning in 4 sets. As the season wraps up, the team faces the challenge of replacing key senior players, including record-setting assist leader Brooke Adams, along with Maya Ivacini, Kira Hissner, and Abigail Webster. The women's volleyball team finished with an overall record of 16-14 and a 5-3 record in the NJAC in 2024. From SB Gymnasium, I'm Logan Stewart. Back to you, Jordan.
NJAC football has come to an end. Rowan faced William Patterson for their regular season finale. Rowan has nothing to play for in terms of playoffs or NJAC regular season champions, but they are playing for the right of finishing over 500. Last year, former head coach Jay Accorsi's last year, Rowan finished at 500 exactly with a 5-5 overall record. Now, with Pat Ruley finishing 6-4, would be an excellent first step in year 1. especially with close losses to Johns Hopkins, Christopher Newport, and Salisbury. Can Rowan end their season on a high note? Here's Jay Kitchen to tell us more.
The Profs ended their season with a boom this past Saturday with a commanding win over William Patterson, 45-0. With this win, the Profs ended their season with a 6-4 record while being a perfect 4-0 at home. The scoring started off with 4 minutes left in the first quarter as sophomore running back Nunes Bukala ran it in from 18 yards out. He didn't stop there as he went on to score 2 more times, which had the Profs leading 35-0 heading into the fourth quarter. Not only did the Profs have a day on the ground, but they also showed a masterclass throwing the ball, as quarterback Matt Wellesley went 15 for 30 with 193 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns, with 2 of them going to junior receiver Shane Martin. The Profs now end another season without a playoff berth, but there's a bright future ahead with a young core of quarterbacks returning, as well as a head coach looking to improve in his second year. With All Access with the Profs, I'm Jay Kitchen, sending it back to the studio.
Thank you, Jake. I hope you make your grandparents proud. I know they're watching. Rowan does, in fact, end their 2024 season with a boom. They finished with an overall record of 6-4 and a conference record of 4-2. Now, for the last time this school year and ever, we send it to Aiden Doherty for his final Rys Rundown.
Welcome to another episode of Rys Rundown here on All Access with the Profs. I'm Aiden Doherty, joined for the last time with Rowan football head coach Pat Rowley following the big victory against William Patterson, 45-0, and it was the last game of the season on the road and a big 45-0 win, also following another big victory against Kane. What was it like for the game against William Patterson, but also to send the seniors out with a big, not just one victory, but back-to-back big victories?
Yeah, it was awesome. You know, I mean, the senior class, I can't say it enough, and I'll say it till I'm blue in my face. Like, I'm just really grateful for them. The 2025 class, you know, obviously there was a late coaching change, and, you know, those guys welcomed me with open arms and really were the ones that carried the water in terms of, you know, really doing a great job being the ambassadors for the change and, you know, kind of driving the culture that I was looking to implement and, you know, kind of helped me as much as possible in that transition and pushing that messaging out. And so really, really great feeling to send those guys out the right way. You know, we didn't reach their ultimate goals, but I hope that they can feel, you know, confident in knowing that, you know, they left the program with a lot of positive momentum heading into the offseason.
And now the team obviously finished the year 6-4 in your first year at the helm. You know, 3 or 4 losses were to teams that made the NCAA playoffs, and they were all pretty close outside the one against Ursinus. How do you assess year one of you as the head coach? Now, last year Rowan 5-5, this year 6-4, but it felt like the momentum maybe shifted a little bit despite maybe just a 1-win difference.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first time as a head coach, you know, there were some things that I did anticipate that would have been things that first year or head coaches in general deal with. And then there were some transitional things that, you know, definitely are still taking some time to get used to, not only being a head coach, but at a new institution where you're trying to navigate how things operate on a day-to-day operations perspective, on a bigger picture operations perspective, and, you know, and really getting to try to know the roster and all at the same time trying to game plan teams and win football games on a week-to-week basis. So, you know, a lot of stuff going on and, you know, a lot of hours spent here this past fall and really all worth it for the bigger picture. And, yeah, you know, I think the cultural shift, and we're starting exit meetings with our guys, and I'm getting a lot of feedback on that. I mean, the cultural shift stuff is the thing that I'm most, you know, proud of. You know, I know we lost some close ones, but I mean, really, after that Ursinus game where we kind of got punched, you know, right square in the face, and, you know, our guys had to kind of eat a nice slice of humble pie there, and there were some come-to-Jesus conversations and a lot of honest and open conversation about what needs to change if we want to improve. And then really from there, every game we either won or, you know, we're super competitive against the teams we lost to, who were all very good football teams. And, yeah, it would have been nice to, you know, snag one of those marquee wins against one of those playoff teams. But, you know, ultimately super proud of the way the guys battled and continued to take coaching and, you know, absorb the culture expectations that I'm looking to implement and going to continue to implement. And, yeah, just looking forward to kind of carrying that momentum into this off season and have a big-time recruiting cycle.
Yeah, and you mentioned the recruiting cycle because you weren't fortunate enough to have a full offseason as a head coach. You really got hired after spring ball, and then you really didn't see the team until I believe August 12th is the exact date where you got to see a lot of these players in person. So what's the mindset going into the offseason, your first offseason as a head coach, recruiting, it's your first recruiting cycle as a head coach. What's the mindset now that the season's over, almost a whole new season is beginning with the recruiting process?
Yeah, I mean, the mindset is it's not too dissimilar to the season. I mean, we want to outwork our opponents, and especially in the state of New Jersey. Like, as far as I'm concerned, we're going to own the state of New Jersey in recruiting. If you're in our backyard, if you're in North Jersey, if you're not a full scholarship Division I player, and we want you, our objective is that you end up at Rowan. And, we want a certain type of guy. We want a guy that wants to compete at a high level. We want a guy that loves the game of football. We want a guy that sees the value in a great education, and he wants to get coached at a high level. And what I mean by that is, a guy that wants to be pushed to really exceed what he even believes to be, his full potential and develop guys. And I take a ton of pride in that. And the staff we've, kind of put together, I think is a group that does take a ton of pride in being detail-oriented in how they coach, and we're going to develop guys at a high level, and that's going to be something where I think it's going to be a winning edge for us. So, yeah, we're going to attack the mid-year transfer portal guys and make sure we're trying to take the right ones, and I think that's always, part of the challenge with the transfer portal is finding guys that fit culturally and fit really the voids of what you're losing in terms of production and positions and that thing, and then grab the right guys, in the high school recruiting process. But, we're going to be very aggressive. We're going to recruit guys at a very high clip in terms of a lot of contact points, a lot of attention, a lot of eyes on evaluations, getting off campus, seeing them wrestle, seeing them play basketball games, being in their home, getting to know who they are as people. And, really try to turn this, Jersey recruiting thing upside down and let everybody know that, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with in that way.
So the all season now comes. Rowan finishes the year 6-4 after a pretty up and down year, but it finished it with a lot of ups at the end. But thank you, Coach Ruley, for joining me here on the last ever 2024 Ruley Rundowns. I'm sure it'll continue going into 2025. But we had 10 straight weeks with Ruley Rundowns, and here we are with the last one. Profs head into the offseason looking to possibly improve on the 6-4 record and possibly make the playoffs next year. But once again, thank you. I've been Aiden Doherty, and back to you, Jordan, in the studio.
Thank you, Coach Ruley, for a season-long commitment to Ruley's Rundown. And also a massive thank you to Aiden Doherty for going out and getting these interviews all season long. Now it is time to check in with Jake Clark for this week's calendar segment for Rowan Sports. Take it away, Jake.
Thanks, Jordan. I'm Jake Clark giving you this week's calendar for Rowan Athletics. Women's volleyball got their NJAC tournament off to the right start as they defeated the Kane Cougars 3-1, as Logan covered earlier. Rowan lost the first set but won the next 3 straight. Maya Ivacini, Jenna Call, and Sierra Bradley led the Profs, all with 13 kills. Field hockey is moving on in the NCAA tournament as they defeated Ursinus 2-1, as Sam mentioned earlier. Ali Palumbo got Rowan on the board first, and Jenna Gray scored the game-winning goal in the fourth. Men's basketball also notched their first win of the season with a 79-61 win against Eastern University, as our field reporter Steven covered. Khalif Mears led the Profs with 23 points and added 7 steals on the defensive end. On Thursday, women's volleyball's NJAC run came to a close as they lost to William Patterson in straight sets, as Logan talked about earlier in the show. The Profs were kept in check offensively as no Rowan hitters had double-digit kills. Jenna Call led the team with 9 kills, and Brooke Adams added 20 assists in the losing effort. Rowan finished their regular season with a 16-14 record. On Friday, women's basketball got in the win column for their season opener against Salisbury 64-40, as Keegan filled us in earlier. Senior guard Kate Hurley dropped 22 points for Rowan, and Reagan Russo added 3 steals on defense for the Profs. Both men's and women's swim beat Montclair State this Friday as well. For the men's team, Jack Watson, Tobias Cambley, and Jim Mahoney won first place in multiple events. Alex Vo Lin won in the 200 fly, Gavin Luong won in the 50 freestyle, and Braden Sheehan won the 200 individual medley. For the women's swim team, Ella Pennington, Riley Cornell, and Liliana Martin came up clutch down the stretch for the Profs, winning the final 6 events to secure the team's first win at home on the season. Pennington took first in 3 events, the 100 and 200 back and the 100 fly. Cornell took top times in the 100 and 200 breaststroke, and Martin won both the 200 and 500 butterfly. Rowan Athletics had a packed schedule on Saturday, first beginning with my highlight event of last week, men's and women's cross country at the NCAA Metro Regionals. The women's cross country team were crowned NCAA Metro Regional champions. The Profs finished first out of 25 competing teams, and this is Rowan's first ever NCAA Regional championship in program history. Mia Guerrero placed 6th overall, with Anna Sasse not trailing too far behind in 8th. Allie Wernick was right outside the top 10, placing 12th, and Gabriella Pagano was 15th. Rounding out the scoring for Rowan was Emily Zani, who placed 40th. Rowan will compete as a team next week in the NCAA championships. The Profs men's cross-country team placed 2nd overall at the NCAA Metro Regionals, with Joshua Kaysen finishing 2nd overall individually. Kaysen, along with Miles Vanell and Matthew Conway, have individually qualified for the NCAA championships in Terre Haute, Indiana. Some of Rowan's teams played in the NCAA tournament games on Saturday, first beginning with field hockey. Rowan Field Hockey's NCAA tournament dance came to an end on Saturday, losing 3-1 to number 3 ranked Tufts University, as Sam talked about earlier. Ali Palumbo gave the Profs an early lead, but the Jumbos scored 3 unanswered goals to survive in advance. Rowan Field Hockey ended their season with a 15-8 overall record and ended with their name cemented in history as they were the 2024 NJAC champions. Football rounded out their regular season against William Patterson with a statement 45-0 victory, as our field reporter Jake Kitchen covered earlier. Rowan had a commanding 28-0 lead at heading into the half, and the scoring did not stop at halftime. Quarterback Matt Wellesley had an impressive 193 passing yards and 3 touchdowns with a 50% completion rate. Shane Martin hauled in 4 receptions for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rowan finished their regular season with a 6-4 record, but finished the season strong, winning their last 3 games. Rowan women's soccer also lost to Tufts University 1-0 to end their season in the NCAA tournament, as Skylar mentioned. Rowan was held in check by the Jumbos, as the Profs could only get off 2 shots, 1 in each half. Rowan ends their season with an overall record of 13-3-2, but had a rough end of the year, losing their last 3 games. The NJAC champion men's soccer team for Rowan also had their season put to bed with a 3-0 loss to Vassar College, as our field reporter Caden talked about earlier in the show. Dylan Aportella allowed 3 goals and made 3 saves in the loss. Rowan men's soccer season ends with a 12-5-5 record and a 2024 NJAC championship. Women's basketball lost on Saturday to Messiah 60-44, as Keegan covered. Kate Hurley led the Profs in scoring again, this time with 19 points. Rowan trailed 33-23 going into the half, but let up 21 points in the 3rd quarter and were held to just 9. So as this week and some athletic team seasons wrap up, we'll take a look at next week's athletic events for Rowan. A light schedule begins on Friday as women's basketball goes on the road to take on Brooklyn University. Men's and women's swim will be at the Franklin Marshall Invitational for both Friday and Saturday. Finally on Saturday, men's and women's cross country will compete at the NCAA championships in Terre Haute, Indiana. So the short slate of events this week, my highlight event of the week will be men's and women's cross country. Both teams are sending athletes to the NCAA Division III championships in Terre Haute, Indiana. The women's team has had lots of success this year with NJAC and NCAA regional championships. The men's team has an NJAC championship and is sending their top runners to the NCAA championships this weekend. With both teams having lots of talent and national championships on the line, men's and women's cross country are easily the events to highlight this week. So that's all we have for the calendar this week. I'm Jake Clark, and now it's time to throw things over to Carrie Letizia and our interactive segment. Carrie.
Thanks, Jake. I'm Carrie Letizia. Alongside me are Chris and Luke from Rowan's Bowling Club. Thank you guys so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. First and foremost, how do you guys get involved in Rowan's Bowling Club?
So I first heard about the bowling club through a friend of mine who was actually a part of it.
Okay.
Now we're both still new to Rowan's. Our first years here,
wow.
Freshman. I'm a transfer.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I've been bowling myself since I was in middle school.
Okay.
I fell in love with it fairly quickly, and then in coming here to college, once I learned they had a club, I wanted to sink my teeth into it, and it's been a great decision for me.
That's awesome. And what about you? For you, how did you hear about it?
Yeah, so I started bowling when I was like 12 years old. I did some leagues at my home center.
Okay.
I also bowled in tournaments. Over time, I practiced and got better. Eventually became the South Sectional Champion of New Jersey my sophomore year of high school.
Wow.
I heard about the Rowan Bowling Club. It seemed like fun. It was a good way to make friends. And, you know, we bowl Friday at 4, every single Friday at Bolero, Turnersville.
Oh, okay.
Just a couple minutes off campus, so.
And you guys compete with the bowling club, or is it just strictly having fun bowling?
So we don't compete with like other clubs or anything like that. Technically we kind of compete with each other.
Okay.
We kind of show up every week, and it's more just relax, have fun. Bowl 3 games a week, 13 weeks it's throughout the whole semester, and then we start again at the start of the spring semester.
Oh, okay. All right, awesome. And now you guys have been doing this for a really long time. I have not. So do you guys want to show me how you guys hold the bowling ball?
Absolutely. Luke, you want to go on first?
I will go first, yes.
Okay.
So you use pretty much rock star fingers to
Okay.
hold the ball. Your middle finger, your ring finger, and your thumb.
Okay.
So basically, you put these two in here. You
Okay.
put your thumb in here. Just like the traditional one-handed swing. And you want to make sure you put your foot behind for good balance. Yes, just like that. Okay, Chris?
Now, it also shifts depending on which hand you throw with. If you're throwing with your right hand, you want to make sure you plant with your left and it sweeps kind of behind. I almost fell there. Oh, my gosh. So, Luke just demonstrated typical one-hand technique.
I'm actually going to pick up the ball,
of course.
too.
I throw a little bit more of an unorthodox way, if you will. For starters, I use two hands. So when I throw, it's going to look something like this. I also don't have a thumb, if you want to show off here. So when I bowl, it's going to look more like this. And then I go to bowl, I release like this, and then swing out that way. Now, technically, I just showed off that way as well. To make things even more weird for me, I throw with the style that's known as backup ball. And so technically, I spin the ball the opposite way, probably a way you shouldn't. And so I throw with this ball, and I actually release that way.
Oh, wow. So actually, I picked this up, and it's very heavy. How heavy is this?
15 pounds.
How heavy is yours?
15 pounds as well.
Okay.
Bowling balls, I mean, the weights vary. The lightest you'd probably find is around 6 pounds. The heaviest would be 16, although that's really rare, actually, especially if you're competing professionally. 15 is the more common weight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I definitely would not be able to throw this. So again, you throw. Yeah, no, I honestly don't think I could do that. Yeah, it's so heavy. How do you do that? Here, you can take this.
Years of practice.
Years of practice. Yeah, you've been doing this since you were 12. You were 12
Since
as well?
12 as well, yeah.
Okay, so one more time, how do you get involved? Who do you reach out to? How do you get started?
Well, Carly Cross is the president of the bowling club this year. It'd be great to reach out to her. Right now, the club is pretty much full as is. However, when it restarts for the spring semester, anyone can reach out and join the club. Even if you don't get to be a part of the club every single week, coming to the meetings and all, they still also have outside events, little gatherings, and we have game nights. Just the other week we did a bingo night. It was really fun. I won a lot of the games. But regardless, you can still attend stuff like that as well, even if you can't be a part of the actual bowling every week.
All right.
Yeah, it's a great way to make friends. So.
That sounds like fun. I mean, I might have to pop out on a Friday at 4 p.m. at Turnersville. Well, thank you so much, Chris and Luke, for coming and talking to me here on All Access with the Profs. I'm Carly Letizia with your interaction segment this week. Back to you, Jordan.
Thank you once again, Carrie, for another excellent interaction segment. I personally love to bowl with my brother in my free time. My PR is 135. Anyways, that'll do it for this November 19th edition of All Access with the Profs. Tune in next week, same time and place, for all winter sports episodes now that the fall sports have come to an end. I'm Jordan Weisinger here at the club. All Access with the Profs. We all fam. Have a good evening wherever you may be.